All right, Michael Bloomberg making a massive social media bet. The Wall Street Journal is reporting his campaign is hiring workers for $2,500 a month just to promote the former mayor to followers. In other words, sort of spread the word. What does our panel think of that? Trump 2020 New York co-chairman Joe Borelli, Democratic strategist Kristen Hawn, and the Bunsen Group's CIO David Bunsen. What do you think of that?
Well, where do we start? The Bloomberg issue is actually more surprising. These kind of $100,000 fundraisers are pretty common. And Larry Ellison, people do not know him if they think he's going to be moved by the big protest and
he's even richer than Bloomberg.
Yeah, he certainly is. And I guess it's somewhat unique that there's someone in the technology sector willing to be seen with the president that way. Rancho Mirage, I have a house there. It's a very friendly area to the president. The Obamas actually almost bought a home there. They decided not to. Yeah, so it's, you know, I'm sure they'll have nice little golf and so forth.
Did they change their mind when they found out you live nearby?
They said this is not going to work. This is not going to work for us. No, but I think that the idea of Bloomberg trying to engage social media that way and pay for that kind of influencing and so forth, it just speaks to the unlimited resources he has, and he doesn't have any proportionality of what the ROI might actually be because he doesn't have to. He just doesn't care.
And the return on investment of that. Kristen, you know, if you think about it, his poll numbers are still strong. I don't know how many of these polls Michael Bloomberg's are coming post some of the embarrassing comments people have dug up that he said over years ago. But he's holding up pretty well. And I'm wondering how that is. What do you think of it?
Well, if I am his team, and his team, I mean, if you've seen how they've been putting this together, and a lot of people have said it's just these ads, these things, he's got a very talented group of people. I mean, they're looking at the grassroots, they're looking at these states, they're thinking very strategically. So anybody who doesn't, underestimates them, I think, does it at their own peril.
Absolutely.
I think there's some element of him actually taking the fight directly to Trump. While you've got the other Democrat candidates kind of coming after each other, I think that, in my circles, I'm more, live in kind of the center-left space. People are really liking seeing him doing that. But also, you said, the unlimited resources here. It's so funny, like as a campaign operative, you have to make decisions about what states you go in, where you're playing, and he doesn't have to. I was just out in LA for the debate at the end of last year, and you should have seen the canvassers on the ground for Bloomberg. So it's a whole different ballgame when you don't have to.
Yeah, I remember that when he was campaigning for mayor the first time. Oddly enough, in this city, he wasn't that well known. People always said the Bloomberg name is ubiquitous. Back then, the business community knew him, of course, but, he obviously cobbled together quite the organization and got elected.
No, but don't forget.
So what do you think happens?
Well, you can't rewrite the history also. Something happened between when Michael Bloomberg was potentially losing his first mayoral race and when Election Day actually happened, and that was 9/11.
Right.
And I think that really reinvigorated a lot of people to maybe not take a risk on some of the far-left candidates that were running at the time. And
well, you're right. Rudy Giuliani's support was crucial.
Right, and it was critical, and that changed fundamentally everything about New York City.
Well, why do I get the sense Donald Trump is most worried about Bloomberg?
I don't think he is. I think he's.
Oh, come on.
I don't think he is.
A little bit.
Look, I'm of the camp that thinks you shouldn't take anything for granted, and you should be very strong against every possible candidate.
So why do they keep pushing Sanders?
Because I think Bernie Sanders would be the most fundamentally easy to beat of all the candidates. I mean, you see today, right, the hotel workers union out in Nevada putting out these flyers talking about how Bernie Sanders is going to take away their union health care. I mean, those issues are ones that don't help Bernie Sanders in swing states like Ohio, like Pennsylvania, with high union populations. So I think the path is much easier against Bernie Sanders. It's a little bit more difficult against Mike Bloomberg, but that's because Mike Bloomberg can be the chameleon that he wants to be.
Well, that'll be tested tonight.
It will. I have a contrarian take on that. I think that both of them have strengths as candidates. Bernie excites his base. Bloomberg has unlimited resources, all that stuff. But what's interesting is I really do think an awful lot of Bloomberg supporters that can't stand Trump would end up voting for Bernie. I do not think a lot of Bernie supporters will go vote for Bloomberg. I just don't think they'll do it.
That's a very good point.
And so
it's
interesting. See, I go back and forth on this because I used to think that, but then, you see one of the Bernie campaigns, and I'm definitely not in that camp, but one of their talking points, is that, Bernie supporters actually did go out and vote for Hillary.
Oh, but they did.
In large numbers. But, I don't see, they're purists, I mean, it's my way or the highway with a lot of those Bernie supporters.
The margins are so small in those swing states where if you don't have the enthusiasm that Bernie Sanders does frankly bring, and you have sort of the inorganic, but
you also have to think down the road, though, to the general.
He's paying people to generate social media buzz because in theory, and in practice, I assume, he doesn't have actual social
Well, what's
media
the difference between a
buzz amongst
candidate who
people.
pursues a presence in the social media and one who's not a really experienced candidate buying it?
Because one shows grassroots momentum. If Donald Trump tweets out the sky is purple, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people will see it in organic retweets. Whereas the Bloomberg campaign, they're basically paying every good consultant that's available to be paid by a campaign right now, and they're just paying people to retweet things. I mean, that shows you that you're
point,
not.
but he is going